Hi, everyone. My name is James Cox, and I will be presenting the project planning section of the Group 1 server-side web dev project. We'll just jump right into it. We'll go into projects. This is the Kanban board that our team created. Click on the board view. There we go. And just as a refresher, what our web app does is it's supposed to be a custom tailored new tab option for a browser such as Firefox, Chrome. Um, and the idea behind it is to have a more customizable version of what's already available. If we take a look at some of our tasks, something that will fulfill those requirements is we plan on having three main APIs here. They're actually in the in progress section assigned to a group member. And going from top to bottom, we want to have the icon horse API to call these little. If we look up here up to the tabs that I have open, these little icons. There's an API that you can call that will have that for bookmarked websites, so we can have it on the new tab screen. We want to have a weather API for the user's local weather forecast, humidity, precipitation, temperature. And finally, we want to have a news headlines API through GNews, and that will pull kind of a rectangle like box of the news headlines along with images from said news headline. And that'll be kind of cleared up once we go into the Figma mockup. You'll see how everything fits together. Something specifically about GitHub boards that I like is the ability, if we click on, for example, this icon horse task, if we click on that, you can have a more in-depth description of what the task is. And also you can comment on it. And that's what we've been using to track assignments for these tasks. So this one is assigned to myself. If we go to the weather API one, this one was assigned to Nick. Then finally, the G News one, that was assigned to Maria. So that's how we've been tracking the task assignments for each individual group member. As you can see, we have our done section. That's since this is the first demo, we haven't done much as in terms of hard requirements. These are just write project proposal, create the mockup in Figma. And as we progress, of course, we're going to move them through the columns. As they are assigned, they move to the in progress tab. And once they're finished, they move to the done tab. And I think that's all that we wanted to present for as far as project planning goes. I want to hand it off to the rest of the group members so they can cover the rest.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and give a quick look at our Figma page here. I'm starting on this main section. So the most important piece of it is this part right here, which is the kind of page layout overall. It is all in Bootstrap colors. I went with dark mode because that's just what I'm used to. There is also a light mode version. And what we have is just a search bar component, 3 API-based widgets, and then one which is a collection of links that the user can define. So when it comes to the design, I went with the search bar up top because that's a very important aspect. And then the links page, or the links section, is going to be on the left because that is where you start reading from. The weather widget is in almost the top right because that's also a pretty high priority section. The news widget would be kind of in the middle, and then the trivia question, because it's more of a fun option, is going to be down near the bottom. So I thought that would be a pretty good way to order everything. I'm also going to have a little settings icon down here at the very bottom. I also, while making this file, made some sample examples of the trivia widget. In particular, what we can do for the right or wrong answers. So if the user clicks the answer that's right, it turns green. If they click the wrong one, it turns red, while the right one turns green. So, yeah. All of these widgets are based on Bootstrap cards. by the way. The only other thing to note here is the other desktop layouts that I have over here, which are just kind of some experiments with how to lay out the page in itself in relation to the news widget. So this is the one that I went with, but the other option was to make this trivia question widget, not the news one, make it take up more of the page. But I think that this one is the right choice. So yeah, I just wanted to show you around my Figma file. I thought really hard about a lot of these little decisions, like, I mean, the spacing between stuff and everything, and I really enjoyed it, so I hope that's helpful. Thank you.
Hello, this is Maria reporting in for Group 1. Our main goal with this first phase of our project was to get the 3 main widgets on the page, and then kind of a step 2 was to connect the APIs if possible, but really just getting the widgets on the page and working with the styling and spacing was our primary goal. Here we have our favorite sites widget, which once connected to the API will use the URL for the favorite site, and the API will give back the branded logo for that website. The news widget, which I was in charge of for this phase, is connected to gnews.io, and it is pulling the latest top headlines. I decided to enable the scroll bar feature because I wasn't sure if the API will always be giving us a constant number of headlines or if that will fluctuate. So hopefully having a scroll bar will prevent any potential overflow from affecting the styling. Over here we have our news widget, which Nick has set up super nicely. It greets the user based off of the time of day. It really is afternoon right now. It's pulling the current temperature and the chance of rain and whether or not it's sunny, and this icon changes whether it's daytime or nighttime, which is super awesome. For now, these links don't take us anywhere. The About page will be coming soon at a later phase. And if we take a look at our project setup, we have our app, which just houses the nav and the body. Then we have the news widget, which is connected to the API. And we're kind of on the fence while I'm here. We're kind of on the fence as to whether or not we want to include images. So here's just a preview of what the news widget would look like with images. But as you saw from the Figma mockup, that wasn't the original plan, but it ended up looking kind of nice, so perhaps in later phases we will enable that. The weather widget is connected to the weather API to grab the forecast. It chooses the greeting based off of the current time for the user while it's running. It grabs the temperature, and as we saw on the other page, it determines whether or not to display the sun or the moon depending on where we're at, and it'll show the moon phase if it is nighttime. Our body component right now is housing the favorite sites widget directly, and the news and the weather are imported in as components. So in future phases, it would be nice to extract the favorite sites widget out of the body and then just call that in here like we did with the news and the weather. And then we have our nav. It's super simple. We're using Bootstrap, of course. And eventually the About page in future phases will have a little bit of information about the three of us. And so, yeah, that covers pretty much everything for this first phase. We've made actually a ton of progress above and beyond our original goals, so that's a great start. Thank you. Bye.